When we think of nationalism, we think the Balkans or the Middle East, but nobody waves more flags and boasts about their exceptionalism than we do. But thanks to coronavirus, Americans just found out what the rest of the world already knew long ago. We suck. While our government was running around destroying nations in the name of nation building, it turns out we were becoming a third world country. The New York Times lamented the sadness and disbelief from a world missing America's leadership. Oh no. Politico mourned America's fading prestige. Such a tragedy. But don't fall for it. The US State Department warns of shared disinformation narratives between China, Russia, and Iran, all suggesting the US has been ineffective in its response to the coronavirus. Be careful, they're disinforming us with the truth. The entire world, not just US adversaries, has watched aghast at our primitive response. Bungled testing, delay and denial far longer than the Chinese authorities, enriching elites and corporations while the masses suffer, an anti-science culture from top to bottom, our hollowed out, unaffordable healthcare system, and actual disinformation from our most watched cable news network, Fox News, that downplayed the virus and encouraged people to gather, putting millions of lives at risk. Chinese, Russian, and Iranian disinformation isn't the reason America looks like a failed state. The failure of American governance is the reason America looks like a failed state. Who could blame Americans for thinking otherwise? Our whole lives we've been indoctrinated with how America is
the greatest country on earth,
the greatest nation on earth,
the indispensable nation,
shining city upon a hill,
the world's leading light of humanitarian goodness.
But is it? Was any of that ever really true? If we're so good, what the fuck are we good at? We only matter because we control the global currency and we have a big military. We were the neighborhood mafia boss, but now we and the rest of the world see that the Don has no clothes. And now the gang is running scared that we might look weak and the hyenas will get us.
Let me explain. No, you don't understand.
The response to COVID-19 has exposed our weaknesses and the sheer cruelty of our system. How shitty we treat our most essential workers, the contempt economic elites have for the majority of the population, and just how beholden our elected officials are to their corporate paymasters, who they've enriched while we have to fight over crumbs to stay afloat. And you can't just blame Trump. Yes, a President Clinton or Obama would have relied more on experts in science, but the American social safety net and healthcare system were already broken because Democrats are neoliberal capitalist extremists, while Republicans are a step further, the ISIS of neoliberal corruption. That's how we got here.
An alarming new milestone right here in America.
Over the past 6 weeks, to about 30 million people out of work.
Those numbers are just absolutely brutal.
The Dow and the S&P are looking at their best month since 1987.
1 in 10 workers in America now without a paycheck.
Many who have lost their jobs have also lost health insurance.
Long lines for food becoming a new normal.
Is a shortage in the critical supplies needed for the tests themselves.
The food supply chain is a big and real issue in this country.
Berlin is accusing the US of carrying out modern piracy at Bangkok's airport and diverting a shipment of masks destined for Germany for itself.
Trump said he would cut future funding to the World Health Organization.
Protesters are starting to gather to demand that the governor lift coronavirus restrictions.
Many protesters carried assault weapons.
They seem to be very responsible people to me.
While many Americans are still waiting to receive their coronavirus stimulus checks, some American millionaires are getting a far bigger boost.
This is a mass grave being dug for coronavirus victims.
That number is expected to keep rising.
We're 5% of the world's population, but we account for 30% of the deaths. We're the only wealthy country that refuses to do enough to help people survive while the economy crumbles from the lockdown, even as Wall Street investors somehow keep getting richer. And we're the only wealthy nation looking to loosen our lockdowns and other social distancing measures while deaths are increasing, all while blocking a UN Security Council resolution for a global ceasefire. Stay classy, America. A healthy democracy would be capable of introspection, but we're neither healthy nor a real democracy, it seems, always blaming others for our problems. American kids want to be YouTube stars while Chinese kids want to be astronauts. That's not China or Russia's fault, no matter how much the New York Times insists on it. It's the fault of people at the top, politicians and corporate media elites, who make us dumber and then point the finger at foreigners.
The virus originated in one of those 2 laboratories in Wuhan.
I'm guided by the beauty of our weapons, and they are beautiful pictures of fearsome armaments.
And then I see the disinfectant, where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning?
China could shut off the natural gas pipelines
Russia can just shut off the electricity. They have that ability now. I mean, what would you do if you lost heat indefinitely as the act of a foreign power?
My own Disneyland in my homeland in Orange County in Anaheim, where Disneyland was born, is still shut because of the Chinese Communist Party.
Poor Pete can't go to Disneyland this year. Some outlets are, of course, worse than others. One study showed that viewers of Fox News' Sean Hannity are more likely to die from COVID-19. But tell me more about the dangers of RT and CGTN. Not to mention our screwed up priorities. We spend nearly $800 billion a year on the military, while we cut education and Medicaid. But at least we're #1 in military spending. We can't spend too much on Medicare for all, but we'll break the bank to kill foreigners. Woohoo! Even as unemployment soars to the highest level since the Great Depression, the biggest military contractors are getting along just fine. The coronavirus has exposed just how unexceptional we are. Or maybe we are exceptional, but not in the way we think.